Austin, it's going to be great. Welcome to the Leaders Who Care series. I always want to say Austin Powers. I'm sure you've never had that before. Um, but welcome.
Most of the times when I call a call center, yeah, Mark, most of the times I say Austin Fowler and they say, what? Austin Powers? It's like, yeah, I get it a lot.
I figured as much. Well, Austin Fowler, we're excited to have you here and prove to the world that you are a leader who really cares. I already know, but now we're going to prove to the world that you are, and have some fun while we do it. So, best place to start, as we always say, is if you could briefly introduce yourself. However, I always have to make this qualification, especially for men, especially in the United States, not your job and all that stuff yet, but where you're from originally, where you are now, what you want to say about your family, maybe something you've never told the world, you want to reveal it now. That's always interesting if people come up with stuff. Share about you.
Sure. So I was born in Melbourne, Australia. I spent most of my life there. I still spent most of my life there. I never planned to leave Australia. I loved it there. I had my whole career set up there, and my initial career was music. So I was a musician all the way through university. That's how I paid my way through. Um, I finished a PhD in quantum computing and discovered that I just qualified myself for something where I had a 1 in 4 chance of work in the country. And if I got work in Australia, I would have been considered a failure. I needed to leave the country and get work elsewhere to prove that I knew something. So this was a shock, but like most shocks in life, you take your lemons, you turn them into lemonade. It was the best thing that ever happened. I went to Canada, spent 4 winters there, had an absolute blast. Ice
Where in
skating
Canada?
on frozen lakes. Well, we were in Kitchener-Waterloo, so about 90 minutes west of Toronto.
Yeah.
I have an Institute for Quantum Computing there at the University of Waterloo. And, you know, it was a magical time. Single, had my own little place, had my skates, we skied. It was just wonderful. So, uh, that was the beginning of how I got started in quantum. And along the way, it's always been a case that I looked at myself and said, hey, super lucky. So how can I spread that around? And that was where I found Opportunity International while I was still a
Well, I'm going
student.
to pause you because we're going to get into
Sure.
Opportunity International. I want to talk about a little bit about family, parents still around,
Yeah,
and all
they
that.
are. So I'm lucky enough to have my both my parents still. So they're coming up to 80, but they're in excellent health. They bike ride, they travel. So hopefully I get blessed with those same genes and I'm still here many decades yet. Two brothers, older and younger, they both have their own families, extensive family in Melbourne, big family in Melbourne. No family in the States. So we are the first migrants to the States in known history. And that known history goes way back. One of my uncles traced our family history back 1,000 years. So to the best
Wow.
of our knowledge, we're the first ones in the States. So
Now, that's cool. And you have nieces, nephews, anything like that?
many, yeah, yeah. So my older brother has 3 sons, a younger brother has a daughter. My mother has 2 brothers, my dad has 2 siblings, and yeah, they all have kids. So we have a big family. Family gatherings are
Well,
quite big.
super cool. And it kind of leads me to, and I love asking this part because I've found over the years that the thread that happens from how we are as a kid is quite interesting. It's not like most times a straight line, but it's interesting how it happens. So, what were you like as a kid or a teenager? Were you playing Monopoly? Or did you do the lemonade stand entrepreneurial thing, or were you into movies? What'd you do?
Lego and music. I loved playing with Lego, building crazy constructions, and music was always my passion. Piano, singing, I was in choirs. As I grew up, I tried other instruments, played the flute for a while, played the viola for a while. I worked as an accompanist, so I would play piano for choirs. So I was on stage a lot. Later, I moved on to conducting. So music and Lego would probably be the top two things as a kid. I loved drawing, I loved creative writing. I loved walking, so getting out in nature and walking. I grew up quite
Awesome.
a distance from the city, so it was a really beautiful area where you could just go out your front door and be amongst the trees, go out and hike. And so I did a lot of that. A lot of my thinking was done just while walking. So those are really my major activities, catching up with friends. We did Dungeons and Dragons, lots of computer games. You know, I had a really good childhood, really good. Um, very, very happy with everything my parents provided me, all the opportunities to just be me and do the things I really wanted to do. They did the usual rounds. They exposed me to hockey, they exposed me to basketball, they exposed me to gymnastics, and just really gave me a good rounded experience of life. And they're always there to take me to music lessons and hang out while I was at choir rehearsals. And I mean, I had really great family support all the way through. So, to this day, very grateful for the start I was given in life. And it's one of the motivating factors in my life to try to take that wonderful experience and create more such experiences for others.
Yeah, no, I think it's fantastic. And we'll get to it. The opportunity to have all those, the impact it does make is significant. Even, and we've talked a little bit about this, even from birth to three, and how much we pick up at that age group. Well, you mentioned a little bit about your journey education wise.
Mhm.
University of Melbourne,
Yeah,
pretty good school compared to the Canadian ones. Just kidding. And whatnot, earning your
it was the best one we had locally. Yeah.
no, it's a good school. I'm just
But
kidding.
yeah, the original plan was, yeah, the it was original plan was very open. I like tech. So I started off and I thought, maybe I'll build computer chips for Intel one day. That sounds like fun. So I studied computer science, computer
So were you
engineering,
actually
math,
envisioning that?
physics, because these are just the things I was,
Were you actually envisioning
yeah,
that
that
at
was
the time?
initially the thought that, yeah, at the time that seemed like a reasonable sort of general goal. And but mostly I just wanted to satisfy my hunger for learning, right? Really hunger for learning. So computer science, computer engineering, math, physics, lots of subjects, overloaded, high course load, and just ate it all up. Loved it. Um, I found through the computer engineering work that, you know, realistically, your life would look like you're one of a team of many thousands. You're working on a very, very tiny thing. And I decided perhaps that wasn't the optimal life I could live. So I started looking a bit further afield. And I spent a lot of time at university, 10 years. So next I thought, well, maybe math. Maybe I'll do research in string theory. That sounds really cool. And I discovered that the most likely life there is you spend 30 to 40 years of your life researching something that is wrong. Is the most likely outcome. There are many different theories, only one at most of which can be right. You're almost certainly going to spend your life on something that's wrong. So again, that didn't seem like a great idea. And at that point, I was a bit stumped. So I took a year off. And then I came back and thought, physics. Let's look at physics. I looked initially at early universe physics. I thought that'll be really cool. Where does the universe come from? Let's do that. And then I discovered it was
Just small.
exactly like string theory,
That's a small
right?
thought. Where's the universe
Right.
coming?
Most likely, I mean, there are a lot of different theories, right? And most likely you spend 34 years of your life on something that is wrong. And at that point, I was just lucky. Australia is a small country. Even today, there's only 25 million people on an entire continent, a big continent. But for whatever reason, they chose quantum computing as one of, okay, we can't research everything, but let's research quantum computing. And suddenly it's like quantum computing, computer engineering, computer science, maths, physics, all in one package. And it's like a gift. And it was a perfect fit for me. It's like I can have an impact on the real world. We're building real tech where the teams are small, you can have a big impact. Um, the team at University of California, Santa Barbara, where I was working, was 30 people. So, every team member has a big impact on that group. And it's just, a dream job. And it has been ever since. I've been doing for 20 years now.
So, clearly you were an early leader. Our firm was founded on the basis of leaders and organizations can do way better when they're doing good. And clearly you were an early thinker
Yeah.
and leader about that as you're telling us about how you're kind of plotting your potential pathway there. Um, and you were an early leader in the sense of with Stairway Invest.
That actually started out of my philanthropy. So Stairway is later in my journey than Opportunity International. Um, Opportunity International came into my life at a meeting where there were a lot of other people there interested in, how do you do good in the world?
Mhm.
And someone was talking about the usual way foreign aid is done, which can often be very handout focused, and how much damage that can do when it's done wrong, and unfortunately frequently is done wrong. Uh, and how much better it is to work with the grassroots people, the people that are actually really in need, who want to advance their lives, and just give them the tools to do so. So that really resonated with me. Their guiding motto was a hand up, not a hand out. And it's like, yes, these are the kind of people I wanted to partner with and learn more from. And they taught me a lot. They taught me of the idea of people being unbankable. And, it wasn't a concept I'd heard of before, but
Mhm.
you don't realize that a birth certificate, knowing the day and time to the minute when you're born, most there are lots of people in the world don't know this. They don't even know the year they were born in. They don't have title to the land they live on. They don't have title to the house they have on. They are unbankable. You go into a bank, they'll say you must leave. Forget applying for anything. But Opportunity International would take the unbankable, assemble them in groups, get them insuring each other's businesses, and then that group of educated people can be lent to. Because surprise, surprise, when your back's to the wall, when you're making decisions like which child do I feed today, right? You really want to succeed and you're a good credit risk, right? Contrary to most banks' belief, these are some of the best credit risks you can look for. And now there is an appetite. Opportunity International, over a period of decades, proved that, surprise, surprise, these are very good people to work with. And now local banks in these countries have an appetite to lend, provided they've been packaged the way Opportunity International does. And that packaging is cheap. Opportunity International in 2022 spent 30 million in donations, educating people, packaging people, and they got $2.7 billion of capital from local lenders into the economy, into the hands of the aspirational poor. And that moment was a real light bulb moment for me. It's like, aha, right? This is
Yeah.
not an intractable problem. There are actually good tools, good organizations that have very credible plans for how to solve this, not band-aid it, but develop an economy, give the dreamers an opportunity to grow and build their own economy in their own way. And from that moment, it's like, I need to help these people. I need to donate to these people. I need to do whatever I can to help this organization grow. And of course, at that time, I was just a student. The best I could do at that time was 25 bucks a month. I didn't have a lot. I was a musician, right? Just going through university. I didn't have a lot, right? Um, and not just that, I was setting myself up for a career in physics, which I love to this day, but also it was not likely to pay very much. So, I moved to Canada. I crossed the world. I spent 10 years at university for a job that paid $50,000 a year Canadian, right? I would have got more money as a plumber or a carpenter in Canada, right? And I would, with no need for college. Okay. So you're doing, at a certain level, selfish artistic work. I was pleasing my own intellectual needs by doing quantum computing, and I still look at it that way. And therefore, I decided that was not enough, right? So I started Stairway. I thought, hey, if Opportunity International can go to people that are illiterate and turn them into business people, leaders, surely I can do something in the first world similarly. Surely I can take some small investors, assemble them in a group, and build a brand where we can all raise capital and grow in a way none of us could do so separately. So that was where the idea from Stairway came from. It came from Opportunity International. We are doing in the first world exactly what Opportunity International does in the third world. And it works. Right? People come together, they learn how to raise capital, they share their knowledge about investing with other people. You want to learn how to flip a house? You open an account with someone that knows how to flip a house, and you get paid to learn. You work one on one with your manager, and until you can do what they do. So that's what we do, and that was all so I could donate more, and not just that. Anyone that's lived in the US knows that building a business, building your own personal net worth, it opens doors. It gives you a voice. People will listen to you. And if you haven't done that, closes doors. People don't listen to you, right? So part of having a voice was building a business to give me the credibility to talk to people that could help Opportunity International. It's a very conscious, deliberate part of why I did that. And that also works. That works very well. So, this year, cutting a long journey short, we are giving away, Stairway is giving away $334,000. So if anyone is listening to this, chooses to donate to Opportunity International, I will match it. Just contact me. Tell me what you donated. I'll match it.
And I can
Um,
tell you not where he lives, but I can tell you how to get in touch with him.
yeah, yeah, contact me, chat, right? I'd love to share more details about their mission, and whatever you donate, I'll personally match it. And let's see what people we can bring into this community because they have a right way to make the world a better place. People need to know about them. They currently serve about 20 million people, but why not 200 million? Why
Right.
not more? We just need to get the message out. And, I need everyone that hears that to think, okay, this is a great organization. They've been around for over half a century. They know what they're doing. Let's raise their awareness, let's raise their funding, and let's help people the right way and really make a big, big difference.
Well,
And
I've always just interrupted for a minute. I love Opportunity International, and obviously we're going to do a lot more. But I've always loved the idea, that statement of giving people a hand up, because people really want to succeed. People want to show their value. Every single person has value. People want to belong. They want to make a contribution. And the limiting of the expertise, the resources, the ambition, the passion of so many millions of people because of this is illogical, and it doesn't make any sense, which is the more the reason to do what you're doing.
And there is talent there, just unbelievable talent there. And a lot of what Opportunity does is just conversations with people to unlock like that. For example, they'll start with a person and they'll come in and they think they have nothing, right? And then they'll talk and then they might find you can draw quite well. You can take words and ideas and turn them into pictures. So this person is completely illiterate, but they can translate a business plan into a series of pictures that other people understand. And they go, you have a superpower. We need you to work with these other people to take their illiteracy and turn their business plans into pictures. All right. We need you. And it goes from there. People are capable of so much with just a little bit of self belief and just a little bit of
Right.
prodding in the right direction. They can take their dreams and make them grow. Opportunity International does not come in and say, oh, you should do this. They say, let's chat. What is it that you want to do? Let's make sure we connect you with the right people and let's get that happening. It's just the right way to do it. Everyone knows you don't give people fish, you give people fishing rods, right?
Yeah.
Opportunity International is the organization that does that at scale in a manner that respects every individual. And, you know, when I first heard it, it's like, I'm done. I've found my organization. And I hope some people here today also feel that passion too, because in my mind, there's no better person or organization to partner with.
Yeah, I love it too. Obviously, and I compare a lot of things to sports. And I've when you're picking a team, and I did a lot of
Yeah.
coaching when you're picking a team, and you can tell the ones who are really 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 skilled, the top 10% are there. But then there's the others that you're looking for. Who's got the hunger you were talking about to really make the team. Maybe skills are there or not there or not being shown yet because they don't have the belief, but they got the hunger. And you know, it's amazing when you give someone the opportunity and they see that you care about them, which is
Yeah.
partially where we get the leaders who care from. You care about them, you believe in them, and it's just like watering a plant that they
Yeah.
start to go. And what they then bring to, let's say, a team is incredible. A team in a company, a team in a business, a team in a sports thing, and whatnot. And again, I go back to, how do we waste all these? How does it make any sense to waste all these resources and not have a financial group um, realize that's an opportunity to invest it? If you don't need a loan, and those are the ones you give loans to, what's the purpose of that versus others that really need the money to build
Yeah.
something great? That's a big purpose.
Yeah. And just going back to that hunger need, you know, there's internal drive, that hunger, and then there's also real hunger. You know,
Right.
poverty is not just an inconvenience. Oh, you have a dirt floor. It kills people. It kills 9 million people a year through starvation. And
Yeah.
starvation is not a good way to go. It can take years. This is one of the worst ways to go. 9 million people every year. That's 2025. 800 million people are so hungry, they don't reach their full height. They don't reach their full mental capacity. That's permanent damage. You cannot recover from it. And that's tragic. That's 10% of humanity that doesn't get to be their best version of themselves through poverty. So that's the need. It's not a case of, it doesn't really matter. These people are fine. They're not. And the tools they need are financial inclusion. Let me participate in the world too. And that's what Opportunity International does. And just to recap the numbers, 20 million people in 2022, 30 million in donations. That's $1.50 per year per client. 95% of their clients are women. That one client is really a family, typically at least 5 people. That's 100 million people on $30 million. And how is that possible? Because they work at it. They look at there and say, all right, I don't want to be paying for the provision of these loans. So you partner with a local bank. You get them to send out their own loan officers. You teach the bank that these people are bankable. They will make money by working with them. And so you move the cost off your base. You teach your clients how to grow bigger so that the bank makes even more profit. And then they take that cost off you. There is a very reasonable argument to say we want to help. So if you're a business leader out there that knows how to make an organization grow, we want to help Opportunity International grow to the point where it's not a charity anymore, right?
Right.
Where it's a self-sustaining ecosystem where the bank will pay an Opportunity International field operative to go and educate their loan officers on how to assemble these groups and make it happen because it's in everyone's interest. It's in the country's interest, the grassroots person's interest, and the bank's interests. And then Opportunity International can take hands off. And this has happened. Their insurance arm, their micro insurance arm, became a for-profit enterprise. It's not like this is a charity case. We have to keep shoveling money in their direction. These are ideas that work, and we need a few wealthy, educated business leader, how to 10x your business type people, coaches, to come and say, you know what? We can take your charity and turn it into a thriving, virally growing business that helps people at scale. Not just the 20 million scale, but what about the bottom billion people on the planet? It has been done. Businesses have done this with worse ideas than this.
Yeah.
So,
I,
we need to get people excited about turning this into something that just grows.
yeah, and I think it's also a value to the companies in the community. It's a value, obviously, to the
Yeah.
community in itself. Is there an age where Opportunity International starts with?
That's an excellent question. So typically they are working with the parents of a family. Um, that is where the best foundation for growth is. So you're typically working, 95% of their clients are women, so they're typically mothers. So that is usually where it starts. Um, but it is an excellent question how far that model can be pushed down the age scale.
And I'll tell you why
And
I ask, because on this podcast we've opened up now to 8 to 18-year-olds that are doing amazing things. We were calling them the future leaders who care, but they're actually the present future leaders who
yeah,
care.
yeah,
And
yeah,
I think they would be not only good teachers and maybe even people could work with them as they grow their
yeah.
business and support each other. And it's quite amazing. And when you talk about nourishment, I know a lady who's the CEO of a company that is bringing nourishment to young kids in school. And it's what you
Hmm.
talked about before. It's not total poverty, but if they're not getting the nourishment, they're not blooming to do exactly what you were talking about either. Do you work
Yeah.
around the world, including North America, or where do they work? And is the school a connection there potentially?
Yeah, yeah. Opportunity International is a global company. They work in 33 countries and they go to the places where the need is greatest, the poorest, the poor countries. Um, there is nowhere that they couldn't and shouldn't be. These are general techniques which could, in principle, be deployed anywhere, right? Finding what people are good at, connecting them to business plans and capital. This is a universal need, right? Um,
And a
e-
good example of that is you're now starting to work with Becky at Rising Star.
Yes, we are. So, for those that haven't heard of Rising Stars, it's a very similar organization in many ways to Opportunity International, but their sole focus is on people suffering from leprosy. So, they'll go in there in a very similar way. They work out what business talents they have. They work on providing great schooling for kids, and they develop the community, focusing on self-sustainable, um, thriving businesses. So, we're very excited. Opportunity International is now working with that organization too. Lots of opportunities for synergy and growth together. So, Opportunity International is a conglomerate of many like-minded organizations. One way they grow is, and if you're an organization listening to this, come and talk to Opportunity International. They have a whole range of digital and intellectual tools and experience, and work together, right? There's a lot of opportunity to do that. You don't have to give up your brand. It's just shared infrastructure where everyone wins.
Yeah, to me, I see it as it's what we call an omni win for sure, where the community wins, the corporates that want to get involved win,
Yeah.
the banks win, you name it, everybody wins because if the whole community is not, it's a drag down in terms of all aspects. Number one, losing value of people and their
Mhm.
expertise and but also healthcare costs, crime, all that type of stuff happens.
That's right. When you give people the ability to look after themselves, they can go and find their own doctors. They can buy their own malaria net. They can go and buy their own vitamins and vegetables and everything that they need to look after themselves. And obviously, again, that's more respectful to the individual than giving those things which don't actually change their self-sufficiency and capacity. So,
A quick question, I can't remember, is there any specific industry or business types that stand out or are more um, used or more engaged with by Opportunity International?
yeah, education actually. So, one of the core problems in many of these countries that are very poor is the government education is just unfortunately very poor. They have a lot of problems with both children not attending, not being present, not being well fed and learning, and teachers as well. All right. They may not turn up for school, they may not be well educated themselves. So Opportunity International has a big push to try to break generational poverty through education. And that is a business, right? You can charge small amounts of money that are locally affordable, but are then sufficient to pay local teachers that teach properly. And so they teach people how to build schools. They help people open thousands of schools. So if there's one business that is one of the core focuses of Opportunity International, it is, let's show you how to build and grow your own school. Because there's huge need for that. People may be a long walk away from school. They may have no access to quality schooling at all. The schools that may be available may just not teach very much. It's underappreciated the extent to which someone in many of these countries that's gone through, all of elementary school may still be quite illiterate by the time they've finished their education, so to speak. So addressing that is definitely a core focus. They have an entire education finance division that is about spreading education. They have 16 million students that they've touched through that work. But again, why not 160 million? Why not more? We need people listening to this to come in and say, you know what? I know how to scale a business. Let me help you. Right. So there's no level where I would want anyone to think that Opportunity International knows everything. If it did, after 50 years, we wouldn't be serving 20 million people. It'd be quarter of a billion or a billion people, right? I mean, Google got to a global scale company in half the time. Okay. And the idea of assembling people into groups that can access capital to grow is at least as good as a search engine. All right. It's at least as impactful, if not more. Okay.
You're right. Well, I think a lot of people are going to be inspired by this. And a quick question: how do you balance your quantum physics work at Google with Opportunity International?
Yeah, I don't need a lot of sleep. I never have. I work a lot and I like what I do.
Well,
Yeah, I mean, it is a lot to juggle.
isn't that the key though? Because I don't get more than 6 hours ever, it seems, ever, if
Yeah,
that. And but to be fortunate enough and blessed enough to love what you do certainly makes a difference. And I think
it does.
instilling that will just open up the hearts and souls and everything of the people you're talking about that loving life again.
Loving
basically.
life. It's so much, it's so important. I look forward to the moment I wake up every morning and, it's kind of sad to have to down tools and go to sleep at night, right? I love what I do. From the quantum computing research to building Stairway and helping people grow financially to spreading the word about Opportunity International and trying to help people at scale. I love it all. So,
That,
I
that,
fill my day with things I'm passionate about and every day I squeeze. It's a gift every day.
Yeah, that segues into what you're partially answering. My last question is, or what we always say in LA, we say we want to leave them wanting more so we can do a sequel. So we'll probably have to do multiple sequels here, type of thing. But in 2021, a client told me, describing the year 2020, the pandemic it was the year that flew by slowly, which I thought was brilliant. And
Hmm.
it feels like it was yesterday still, and yet years ago. So we're zooming
Yeah.
into 2025 now. You've a little bit answered what are you most grateful for? Um,
Mhm.
and what are you most hopeful for?
I'm hopeful that people connect with the message here, right? People realize that their fortune, whatever that may be, the fact they have time on their hands, the fact they have resources in their hands, the fact they have education on how to build businesses, that can be used to help a lot of people, right? I mean, at the cost to help a person that Opportunity International runs, a few $1,000s a year can help many thousands of people a year, right? It's hugely impactful. And if you have the capacity to help them grow, it's possible to reach millions. You can take your life, your good fortune, and turn that into something that touches millions of people. So treat Opportunity International as your opportunity, right? It's your opportunity to leverage everything you've been fortunate with and help people at scale. So everyone listening to this is a fortunate person, right? You wouldn't be listening to this if you didn't. It requires a computer, right? It requires an internet connection. You're a very fortunate person. You can take that gift and share it so far, so much further than you thought by partnering with the right organization. So, send an email, get a conversation started. It costs you nothing. And I'd be very happy to chat with you and show you how you can help yourself feel amazing because your life is now impacting so many others.
Yeah, we'll make that happen. And you know what the best thing about it is the pay it forward that happens from the people that you've helped.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because
So,
they've seen what happened with them,
um,
and they want to pay it forward as much as anybody.
the life you touch becomes a life that touches more. Every farmer that becomes successful, Opportunity International does agriculture finance. Every farmer that becomes successful becomes the next educator for their community and the wider community. So it spreads. The business leader that started off with nothing becomes the next person educating the next group. So, it's never a case that you just give a little bit and if you stop giving, it all ends. This is intended to become a self-sustaining movement where we get everyone access to the tools they need to not be living on the brink. Too many people live on the brink and too many people fall off that precipice and they don't make it through the year. And that should be an unacceptable tragedy to everyone that hears that, right?
Yeah.
What if it were you? I live my life by the principle of do unto others as you would have others do unto you, right? I would hope that if I had been born in a country where I didn't get to stay at home until I was 28 years old and spend 10 years at university, in a country that paid for my education, I mean, that's spectacular. If I had not been that person, instead I was on the brink, walking for miles for dirty water, the person that could have been me looked back and said, you know what, that's not okay. Let's see what we can do about that.
Yeah, I
And,
summarize.
I just hope others feel that too.
Yeah, I summarize it a lot of times thinking we have to take things more personally now, where
Yeah.
it's not someone else somewhere else. It's not whatever it may be. We have to take things personally. If one person on the news says one or two people died and we're like, oh, that's pretty good today, then that's ridiculous type of thing.
Yeah.
So, hey, listen,
Try to put yourself in people's shoes and think,
100%.
what would you wish the you that you are now would have done if you had been them, right?
100%. Well, I am grateful that you are a leader who cares, and now a new friend, a real good friend, and stuff, and uh,
Thanks, Mark.
and I'm hopeful actually for the same thing because this is super important, and we're on board, and we're gonna help out. So thanks for being all that, and thanks for joining us on the series.
My pleasure. And thank you for the opportunity.